بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم أما بعد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother in Islam, Haris Khan, and I welcome you all to this channel. This is going to be a series of lectures requested by some very dear friends and very sincere brothers, Tulab al-Ilm, for studying this book called Hidayatu An-Nahw, the picture of which you can see in this video. And before we begin to talk about this book and start the introduction of the book itself, there are 5 main bits of information that I would like to talk about. And it's important to talk about these things before we start learning anything about Arabic grammar, because we need this kind of preparation and this footing, so that when we start grammar, Arabic grammar does not seem, unattainable, it's too, difficult, way out of reach. Just talking about these things would allow you to have that, achieve that kind of mindset that would allow you to breeze through the pages that we that would be studying, and inshallah they'll follow shortly. So the first thing that every student of knowledge and Muslim should know is that why should we learn Arabic language? Why should we bother learning this language in the first place? The second thing which I think is important to talk about is, why did Allah choose this language for His final message? Why, out of all the languages of the world, why Arabic? The third point of discussion would be this idea of speech versus grammar. What comes first? Speech, language, as an independent entity that defines human beings. Haywan natiq, a speaking animal, as some of the logicians have defined us human beings to be. Or did someone decide that we're going to come up with a language, these are going to be the rules, and we're all going to follow it, and slowly and surely that language comes about. This is an important discussion to have for many reasons, but one of them, which I would explain later, but one of them is that understanding this idea that speech comes first and grammar follows it would help you become a nahwi, an expert of this language. So it's a very important discussion to have, and that would very nicely lead us to the final fourth point, which is this art of language learning in general. What does science, scientific studies, academic literature tell us in a nutshell about learning languages? How did the Sahabis, of the Prophet ﷺ, who were not Arabs, like the famous Sahabi Salman al-Farisi, right? What was, how were they learning languages? Did they, which book of grammar did they study? Did he study Alf ibn Malik, or did he study Qatr al-Nada? He probably, he could have studied Mulhat al-I'rab, right? Or did he study some texts like this one that we have in front of us, Hidayatu An-Nahw? Or did he study any texts that are taught in the Indian subcontinent, Indian seminaries. So this idea of language learning, this is a very important topic to discuss before we can start delving into the nitty-gritties of grammar. And the final point of discussion will be an overview of grammar itself, the Arabic grammar itself. And before we start talking about each of these points in detail, I just want to explain the reason why it's important that we start with these points and not the book itself. When you study any book of grammar, you're going to come across terms which are going to, make your head spin. And you would not be able to fathom why would anyone, for the sake of sanity, like why would anyone think about language in this way, right? Why would you describe words in this mu'arab and mabni and amil, ghayr amil, all of this? Why would you come up with these terminologies, right? Why would you say that some words act into another word, into other words? Why would you talk about language in such a way, right? And this is what really confuses a lot of people who study Arabic grammar, right? Why were they talking about language in such a way, in such a difficult way, right? And by the end of this discussion, you would realize that there's, subhanallah, such hikmah and wisdom and just ingenuity and just cleverness in the way the grammarians of this ummah, the scholars of the language of this ummah, formulated their words and their statements with regards to this particular science of understanding the structures of communication of this beautiful language, divine choice of for the divine communication that Allah sent to His last messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is why it's important that we talk about these things, right? So when you come across these terminologies, you're not like, oh, why are they talking about it in such a way? Rather, when you read it, you're like, subhanallah, right? That's why they chose to talk about it in such a way, right? And why is the Arabic language superior to other languages, right? Why is the Arabic script superior to the Latin script, right? You hear this argument by some modernists in the field of linguistics, calling and propagating for a change in the script of the Arabic. You had some people, some intellectuals in the Indian context, and you find some people in the Arab context talking about, yes, converting the Arabic script to a more Latinized version, just like what Turkey did. And in this section, I want to talk about this, and just to briefly, because obviously this is not a detailed video. Each of these topics, you can read books on each individual topics, each one of these topics, and so that's not the point to delve into too much detail about each of these topics. But I just want to give you this idea: why is Arabic language superior to other languages? Why is this the choice, the language of choice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Right? Why is the script of Arabic language superior to the Latin script? Why are the phonetics, the vowel system of the Arabic language, superior to the other languages in the world? Why is this language, more advanced than other languages, right? And why? What makes it so unique that subhanallah, that the grammarians, not just hundreds, thousands of scholars have written books in this field, right? The degree that this language has been, preserved, and how that lends a proof to the deen of Allah, the deen of Islam in itself. So, without further ado, let's begin. So why should we learn Arabic? And sorry, just to make a side point, I'm just doing this from the top of my head. I don't have any notes. This is just supposed to be an informal series of lectures. So, I would quote some references. I would quote some links and muraja'at that you can go to and find more details about this and read for yourself, inshallah. This delving into each of these topics in an academic and rigorous manner is not the point of this video. So why should we learn Arabic? Well, first of all, as Allah says, Qur'an Arabi la'allakum ta'qilun. Right? This is an Arabic Qur'an so that you may, right, understand, so you may think, you may ponder, right? So you may understand things. And there can be you can say a lot of things about this verse. The depth this one short verse has to offer. We could talk for hours and hours and days, and we might not be able to come to any suitable end to this topic, right? If you talk about this verse from an Arab's perspective, right? We send down this Quran in Arabic so that you may understand. If that communication is to an Arab, of course that means we sent it down in a language that you understand, right? But what does it mean when that is being said to a non-Arab who does not speak or know the Arabic language? What does that mean that we have sent Quran, in Arabic so that you understand? So now that's something to think about. Now that's something that should really make you go, oh, subhanallah, okay, so really what does this Arabic Quran has to do with my understanding, right? What is Allah actually trying to say to me, right? How can an Arabic Quran that I can't understand without a translation, right, how would it make me think without conveying the meanings? So all of that, interesting and tasty discussion aside, you can read these kind of discussions in books like Ibn Kathir and Tafsir Adwa al-Bayan and other greater works of Quran and Tafasir, inshallah, and some works by Ibn Qayyim and other ulama, inshallah. So first of all, the reason why we should be learning Arabic is because we are Muslims. We have chosen this faith. We have submitted our will to the will of Allah. And Allah sent down His message to a prophet who was Arab, to a nation who was Arab, in a speech that is Arabic. So because this is the language of the Quran, we should be learning it. Otherwise, if we don't, we would lose our religion. And to safeguard our religion and be connected with it, we need to know this language. Which is why Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he said that this Arabic language is from your religion, so learn it. It's a part of your religion. It's not just some language that Allah sent down, it's a part of your religion, learn it. And this is for this reason that we saw a lot of subhanallah dictators in the last century banning adhan in Arabic, converting the adhan into their local languages of Bosnian or Albanian or Turkish, and the people who want to destroy Islam, they fully understand that the way to defeat this ummah is to cut it off from its language. And Arabic is the language of Islam, the language of the Muslims. Every single Muslim knows that he needs to know some level of Arabic. So when the ulama, they give this ruling on learning the Arabic language, they say that, and this is the majority of the ulama, who say that learning the Arabic language is fard kifaya, which means that if some people learn the Arabic language, then the obligation of learning the Arabic language is removed from the rest of the masses of the Muslims. But That's only one side of it. What does it actually mean, Fardu Kifaya? Do Muslims not need to know Arabic to read the Quran? Do they not need to know enough Arabic so they can recite surahs and du'as in their prayer? What does it actually mean, Fardu Kifaya? So when you actually look into this ruling, it does not mean that, or just learning Arabic in general is just, kifaya. You don't even need to do anything, any work in grammar or sorry, in Arabic language, and you can be Muslim and fine, right? No, as a Muslim, there's some level of fard on every Muslim. You should at least learn to read the Quran. You should be learning to your surahs in Arabic so that you can recite them in your prayer. Well, your prayer is not valid if you do not recite your surahs in Arabic. You don't recite your du'as in Arabic in the prayer. So, in that regard, learning Arabic language to that degree that allows you to read the Quran at least, even if it's without understanding. If you can, that allows you to recite your du'as, that level of Arabic is completely compulsory, wajib, obligatory upon every Muslim. And what the ulama really mean by this kifaya thing is this idea that not everyone needs to understand this language. Not everyone. As far as the language, the requirements of knowing the language for your prayer and reading the Quran every day, for example, are concerned, yes. But as far as it goes to understand the language and understand the Quran in its entirety, in its language and the entire hadith corpus, all of that, right? In that sense, this is not fard ayn. Okay, it's fard kifaya. It's not compulsory on every person to become a scholar, or a student of Arabic language, or a knowledgeable person in this field. So in that sense, it's fard kifaya. So not every Muslim needs to learn how to understand Arabic language, but a very small minority of ulama, which one of which I believe is Imam Shafi'i, and I personally find myself in that group. I personally believe that learning Arabic language to at least a small extent, to this much extent, that you start understanding your Arabic literature without getting too much into the nitty-gritties and specifics of Arabic grammar and the details and precision of the language. Just enough know your word connectors, for example. Know what connects different sentences. Know what connects different words, right? Different verbs and nouns, for example, in a sentence. That could give you a lot of meaning. If you just know how sentences are structured, just in a very basic way, then you could just use some dictionary later on to read if a need may be for you to read Arabic. So at least to that degree, where you have the tools to start understanding to an extent where you could understand the text if you had access to a dictionary. So I personally believe that Muslims should be learning Arabic language, and it's fard on every single Muslim to learn Arabic to at least a level where they can start understanding the Quran without having to know grammar rules or any of these specific details of the any of the auxiliary Arabic sciences of the Arabic language. And as we shall cover later in our language learning point, it's very possible you can learn an entire language without having ever studied grammar, right? And this is where the story of Salman al-Farsi comes in. The Sahabi, he was a Persian, came from Persia, right, and accepted Islam, and subhanallah, how did he learn Arabic? What kind of books were they teaching at that time, right? So it's possible to learn the Arabic language without learning the nitty-gritties of grammar. And we'll talk about this point more in detail, inshallah. So as far as the importance of this language goes, why should we be learning Arabic? Because the Sahaba understood that this language was our deen. This was a language that Allah chose to reveal the Quran in, right? This is what Umar ibn Khattab confirmed in a statement that you should learn Arabic language because it's a part of your deen, and some other companions have similar narrations with similar meanings, right? And so and then we talked about the ruling of it, how the ulama said that some level of it is fard, and anything detailed, anything too detailed, specific and specialized, kifaya. Okay. But there's another reason why we should be learning Arabic, especially in our times. It's that when you learn Arabic, the ulama say that all these attacks that you find from disbelievers and or non-Muslims in general on Islam, when you learn the Arabic language, 50% or 60% of the fight is already won, because the reason why they're attacking Islam from X, Y, and Z angle is because they haven't understood the Arabic of the speech of Allah or the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So when you learn the Arabic language, it puts a cap on your limitation. It puts a cap on your interpretation limits. Right? It really bounds you to a very specific amount of leeway that you can have with interpreting the language. Right? Classical Arabic is very precise. It's very precise, and it opposes any deformation of its structures, and each structure gives a different meaning. There's a whole science that describes this idea of changing meaning just by the change of positioning in the sentence of different words, called by the name of ilm al-ma'ani, which is one of the sciences of balagha, Arabic rhetoric. So the reason why it's important to know that is because your literalist groups nowadays, like the on one end you have the terrorists, the ISIS types, the Taliban types, who just cherry pick self-selected verses from the Quran and interpret it to their own liking. If their Arabic language was of this level, they will understand that their interpretation is limited. They would not be able to interpret the verses in that way, in a way that would allow them to commit mass genocides, right? And on the other side, it also would allow these modernist Muslims who reject verses from the Quran, who reject an entire hadith literature, because they interpret the Quran in a certain way, because they don't have the grounding in the Arabic language, because they're not aware that the Arabic language offers certain limitations on your interpretation. They don't sit and collect all the adillah in the Quran and understand them in a proper way that is based fundamentally in understanding the language, and then from there on, a hadith, and as the methodology that the Mufassirin have identified in their books. So you understand the Quran with the Quran, then the ahadith and the companions' narrations explaining the meaning of those verses, and then the narrations of your tabi'een, those who were the students of the Sahaba, and then the Arabic language in terms of its very precise details. So these people, because they don't understand the Arabic language, they can't even do the first step of tafsir, which is understanding Quran with Quran. If you can't understand Arabic properly, how would you even be able to sit down and collect all the adillah? How would you know that this verse is related to that verse? Some verses are not quite as apparent in meaning, right? And if you don't know the Arabic language, you can't even commit yourself to getting all your adillah together on one topic, right? And this is why you find lots of these people who commit, inkar of hadith, who don't accept hadith to be a valid source of law in Islam and belief. They're unable to do that. Subhanallah. And so this is why we should be learning Arabic language, so that our interpretation is in line with the correct understanding of the Sahaba of the time, because they were the pure Arabs. They knew this language inside out, and their language did not allow them to interpret the Quran in X, Y, and Z reasons, X, Y, and Z ways. And so this brings us to the last point. Why should we be learning Arabic? Is this idea of preservation of the Arabic language. We as non-Arabs, it's important that we understand how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose non-Arabs for a huge part of the preservation of His religion. And this is something that not everyone knows. A huge majority of the ulama who have preserved this deen, they belong to the non-Arab camp. All your muhaddithin of the Kutub Sittah, if you read their biographies, they were not Arabs. So the largest collection of your hadith corpus, the most reliable hadith corpus, is collected by non-Arabs, right? Who learned Arabic, and Allah took such a big khidmah from them for this deen. Then your mufassirin, some of the biggest mufassirin, if I recall correctly, Ibn Jarir at-Tabari, there's two, but the one with the tafsir, the famous tafsir, he was not an Arab. He was an Ajami. And not just that, we can keep going on. The first person to start collecting and documenting the Arabic dictionary, right? Not an Arab, right? The first grammarian of the Arabic language who documented and systemized the science of the Arabic language, Imam Sibawayh. He was of a Persian lineage, not an Arab. So if you were to look at our history, a huge portion of this religion has been preserved by the efforts of the non-Muslims. And this was the will of Allah. Allah has willfully chosen the non-Arabs for the preservation of this deen to make a very simple point. This religion is for everyone. This religion is not just for the Arabs. This is not an Arabic faith. Even though it was revealed in Arabic, this is not specific to the Arabs. And Allah proved this point, that this religion will last and will stay and is for the rest of humanity till the end of time, by choosing His slaves who were not Arabs to do some of the biggest services that anyone has to offer to this faith. SubhanAllah. So we as non-Arabs who are learning Arabic language, we come from this tradition, this SubhanAllah, this sunnah of Allah, that we should be continuing that tradition of our civilization by continuing to learn the Arabic language and preserving this language from the attacks that is facing at the moment from different sectors of our societies, from modernists trying to change its script to a deficient Latin script, right? From people who are, just influenced by the modern movement of these linguists who claim that no language is superior to the other, right? Ulama of Islam, right? They have very firmly believed since the inception of this last testament, the Quran, the Arabic language was chosen as a mode of revelation because it was special, because it was more advanced than other languages. And I would, inshallah, prove this in the second point. Why did Allah choose Arabic for the revelation of His deen, inshallah? So, for all these reasons, we should be learning Arabic language. This is a fard upon every Muslim to learn the Arabic language to whatever extent they can, possibly, and potentially, inshallah. So this wraps up our first point, and I think inshallah this would have motivated you to to start thinking about this this idea of learning Arabic language, and how Arabic was the lingua franca of the world for 1200 years, and subhanallah, this idea of going back to our roots, this idea of going back to our beginnings. This is why we should be learning Arabic language. Most of our people who claim that they follow the manhaj, they follow the pathway of the earliest generations, they are the first people who are the farthest away from it. There's two things that you need to go down that path, to traverse that noble path of understanding the deen as the first generations understood it. You need, and very first of them is the mastery of the Arabic language. Imam Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj, he would not let any student of knowledge sit in his hadith circle until he had mastered the language, until he had studied Arabic to a level where he could benefit from the hadith lessons. Not until he'd mastered the Arabic language will he allow any student of knowledge to sit in his circles. And Imam Shu'bah is not your latecomers. He is right up there with Imam Malik. He's one of the earliest ulama, earliest muhaddithin, and some muhaddithin they attribute this idea of this very strict methodology of verification of chains of narration and hadith. He is your founder of this science. He has a very strict methodology to weigh the authenticity of different chains and really look into accepting only the authentic narrations. And I recommend the listeners, inshallah, to read into the biography of Sheikh Imam Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj, inshallah. So that wraps up our point of why we should be learning Arabic, and inshallah I hope that everyone understands that this is a noble path. This is a very noble cause to learn the Arabic language, inshallah. This brings us to our second point. So why did Allah choose Arabic language for the revelation? Why would He choose a language of this Bedouin people, unlettered, illiterate people, who had nothing to do with the grandeurs of the world at the time? Why did Allah not just reveal the Quran in the final message in the tongue of the Romans or the Persians, the two superpowers of that time? Why did He not do that? Would it not make more sense that reveal a book on a people who are already established in the land? Yes, they have the military might, the strength, right? The ammunition, the manpower to spread this whole religion, right? Throughout this the face of this earth, subhanallah. So why Arabic? Well, this is where it gets interesting, and this is where you really subhanallah should be bracing yourself, because this point, when you think about it, it really should give you goosebumps, because a religion that was supposed to be for the rest of humanity till the end of time, right? If this religion was from anyone else other than Allah, right, you would not be able to find the features that I am about to explain, and the depth of wisdom that you find. Why would Allah choose the Arabic language for His revelation, and not the Roman language or the Latin language or the Persian languages? So it's very commonly known amongst us, the students of Arabic language and the scholars, that the Arabs called all non-Arabs Ajam, right? And Ajam is actually an insult. It's not just a title for non-Arabs. It doesn't just mean, oh, we are Arabs and they're non-Arabs, so Arab and Ajam. No, 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 no. It does not mean non-Arabs. It means literally dumb, who can't speak, who have no power of expression. That's what the Arabs used to call non-Arabs. Oh, these people, they have no power of expression. They can't describe what goes inside them with utmost precision and brevity and beauty, right? This is what the Arabs, took pride in. They really took pride in this language of theirs. To the point that they were so proud that even your superpowers of that time, nothing deterred them from saying that we are the Arabs and everyone else in the world is just dumb. They can't speak. They don't have any expressive powers. And they didn't just say that. No. They were not just saying that. It's not just an empty claim. It was a belief. It was a very firm belief. And now that we are able to look at all the collected qamus and dictionaries of the Arabic language, you find the Arabic language, the vocabulary is so vast that that one of these famous dictionaries, it has over 100,000 words. Over 100,000 words. More, to be more precise, it's somewhere close to 120,000 words. Right? This book, Taj al-Urus, it talks about this and it brings forth this, 120,000 words of the Arabic language. And Imam Farahidi, in his book Ayn, he set out to write a dictionary of the Arabic language in a very mathematical format, right? Because all Arabic words, come from 3 or 4 root letters, and he said, and he calculated the permutations of each of these and these letters, and that's the methodology he set out to achieve. And if he'd completed his dictionary, it would have been way over the said amount that we have talked about. So this just as having this huge vocabulary to explain things, to talk about feelings, to talk about the world. No other nation in the world has this vocabulary. Any language, or from the modern languages that you find, or the ancient languages, no other language has this feature of having such a reservoir, such a huge reservoir of vocabulary, a word bank, right? That gives you these super expressive powers. It's almost a kind of superpower, right? This is what the Arabs really took pride in, and we understand that because of what documented evidence we have, we can prove that Arabic language has the largest bank of words to offer than any other language in the world at the moment, right? Or any language that had existed before this. So it makes sense that a language that has such precise expressive abilities, Allah would choose that language to reveal His final communication, so that His words could not be twisted and misinterpreted, so that His words could be precise, and each and every change in the speech changes the meaning. And every single you might have 10 different words to basically describe the same thing, right? But each of those words are used in different contexts, right? Sometimes you have more than 10 meanings for one word, more than 20 meanings sometimes for one word, right? And the context defines the exact use of that word. And that context, when you, subhanAllah, understand that this is, when Allah says this is the meaning He intends, right? And think about choosing from those 20 meanings of that one word. Think about it. You know, the precision that has to offer in terms of conveyance of meaning, right? And you know, it doesn't just stop there. As we said, you have this huge bank of, you know, vocabulary, words, and then you can twist them back and forth to change meaning, right? And you could say something, and just by flipping it, it could mean a completely different thing, right? Sometimes you have one word and it describes two alternate realities, completely alternate realities, something which are completely mutadad, complete opposites to each other, right? So having just this, subhanAllah, when you start looking into the depth of the Arabic vocabulary and the expressive powers it endowed upon the Arabs, you really start to understand why Allah chose this language. No other language offered and still offers that kind of expressive power that the Arabic language does. No other language has that virtue. No language has that virtue. No language whatsoever. The second thing which makes Arabic unique and potentially why Allah chose this language as a final language of of revelation. And obviously this is obviously all of these points that we are mentioning in this regard are our best guesses. Allahu a'lam, Allah knows best about His wisdom. We can never encompass Allah's knowledge. But this is our what we find, the data that we have. We try to understand some bits and try to come to a conclusion that these are some of the reasons why Allah would have chosen Arabic over other languages of the time. So this attitude that the Arabs had, with everyone else being dumb and them being expressive and intelligent and intellectual, and priding themselves in this huge bank of vocabulary, hundreds and thousands of words of vocabulary, and subhanAllah, when you start looking at the script of the Arabic language, it's important to understand this point about script and the next point about phonetics and vowels, because this is what's gonna really reveal to you why were the grammarians talking about certain concepts in certain ways. Why were they talking about certain letters acting upon the certain words acting upon the other words, right? Why were why do you need to talk about a word in a way which defines it as something that accepts an invitation to change its last vowel, right? Why do you need to talk about words like that, right? So you would understand this when you understand the script of the Arabic language and the kind of wonders it has to offer to this language and this community, this wonderful noble community that Allah chose as the companions of His final messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the first point, what makes the Arabic script so unique and amazing, it's because of its precision. You have 28 letters. Some ulama like Imam Jazari and Imam Shatibi and others, they differ that there are 29 letters, and some say 27. But generally, ulama agree that it's Arabic language has 28 letters. Difference between being Hamza and Alif, just making the same letter into two letters, that kind of looking at it. But yeah, the general statement is that 28 letters. If you look at 28 letters, anyone who knows how to read the Quran and they can identify different letters, the alphabets of the Arabic language. Subhanallah, if you look at ba, ta, and tha, they're all the same. If you remove the dots, because they didn't have dots back in the day, right? So if you just remove the dots, you have the same shape. Then you have dal and dal. Remove the dot, and they're practically the same shape, right? And likewise, ayn, ghayn, right? Da, da, sad, dad, right? Sin, sheen. All of these are, they are doublets, right? They're twins. These are twin letters, with just the addition of certain dots. It just signifies a different sound, right? But in terms of its script, if you think about it, yes, the letters in terms of their pronunciation and points of articulation, 28, yes. But if you look at the shapes of it, and you take away the shapes, the repetitions in shapes, you're left with roughly half of the letters, right? So practically, you have less letters to master, right, and write, and use again and again. That generally feeds into this speed of transcribing, right? But also this idea that, subhanAllah, the Latin script has letters, and each letter is different, and it combines with different letters in very different ways, and like sometimes the Arabic language, because of its letters, right? When they didn't have any tashkil, dots on top of the letters, right? If you think about it, say you're a scribe, and you're writing, and you don't put dots in your writings, right? And you want to be precise with your writing, right? How would you go about doing it to save yourself time? Well, to answer that quickly, because when we are going, quite over the time, you would come up with a technique that's broadly called shorthand amongst the journalists, right? And if you look at the Latin script, it does not allow you to do that, right? It does not allow you to do that for two reasons. Firstly, you have all the vowels written in letter form, right? So it takes you to convey a word, right? And in written communication, it takes a longer time to write one word. But if you were to remove those vowels, it takes far lesser time to write that one word, right? If you just knew that these are the vowels, right, and you just wrote your consonants, right, that allows your Arabic script to be a lot more precise, right, because the vowels are not present, right? And secondly, what makes it more precise, and subhanAllah, amazing, this script that Allah chose for this language, is that the letters in the Latin script were always written in full, right? And when they wanted to record someone's spoken speech and spoken word, they had to invent a separate technique called shorthand, because their current script did not allow them to record at speed. But that was not the case with the Arabic language. The Arabs have always written in the way what we call, right, what they would do is they would halve a letter, right, and just use the face of that letter and connect it with other letters. So it allowed to write with lightning speed when you're writing, right? Because you're not required to write full letters when you write Arabic script. You just use the heads of each letters, and you just combine them with the other letters, and it does the job. That's how you write Arabic script, right? So it's basically shorthand, but far quicker than shorthand. And to prove that point, I would include a picture of this manuscript of this script, specific style of script called shakista, which was used in the Mughal courts in the Indian subcontinent, and to really drive this point home, I would show you that picture right now, and then I'll continue explaining. So now that we have seen this picture, do you see that the subhanAllah, the amazing feature of this script, this shakista technique of writing Arabic, you could record a person speaking right word for word, precisely and fast, without losing any word, right? And you do not have to invent a separate technique to do that. So the Arabic alphabets and Arabic script allowed that flexibility and that speed and just that utility of recording written speech and testimonies in the court. So this kind of script was very common in the Arab world, in the Muslim world. People used to note down word for word sayings of different people. It was used in the courts to record testimonies of different witnesses, and it was used to write down the speeches delivered by the kings, by the ai''imma. The khutubat were written in this way, for example. So Arabic language allowed for this kind of this superiority that the Latin script did not have. So all those people who are fighting for this case for a Latin script, right? That just Arabic script is so difficult, writing from right to left, and these curves and dots and all of that. Just convert it to Latin script and make it easy and all of that. You'd lose all those benefits. And another feature of the Arabic language that allows for it to be superior to the Latin script in general is this feature that you actually write the Arabic language from right to left and not from left to right. And basically, when you write from right to left, the ulama, they used to have these desks which were slightly slanted, right? And it works perfectly well when it's laid out, but it adds a bit more of an advantage to when the desk is slanted, because when your page that you're writing on is a bit slanted, right, at the top, it's raised, and you're writing from right to left. So essentially, your movements of your pen are from top to bottom, right? So just this feature, this is this point when you write from right to left and top to bottom, right? You're acting in line with gravity. Your hand is acting in line with gravity, so it adds that pace to your writing, right? Which is why no other civilization, that has ever existed on this earth has produced the amount of literature that the Muslims produced, because of this direction of the Arabic script. And so subhanallah, if you think about every single feature of the Arabic language one by one, you would be amazed why would Allah choose this language? Because of all these abilities that this language afforded its users in terms of its script, recording testimonies, writing literature, making your writings precise, not to so that it doesn't take too much paper. You could convey so much meaning. Yes, because even the Arabic language allows you to convey lots of meaning. Yes, but if you had to write a lot of material, just using the Arabic script saves you all that space that your vowels were going to take. And then obviously, don't forget, there's only 3 vowels, e, u, right? Not like a pretended case of a, e, I, o, u, but then really you have more than 20 vowels, right? So any script that is not Arabic, any language that is not Arabic is not precise. to a degree that Allah would have considered it to reveal His final message. Azza wa Jal. Subhanallah. So last point before we finish this section on why did Allah choose Arabic for His revelation. It's just on this idea of phonetics and vowels. So vowels in Arabic, as I've just pointed out, are very uniform. You only have 3 vowels, and the entire Arabic language follows those 3 vowels. You don't find any discrepancy in the Arabic vowels. A, E, U. That's it. Khalas. Right? You don't have E, O, A, bat, right? Plastic, right? Potato, tomato, right? It's just, phone, often, right? Oh, right? Right? Elephant, right? Ear. So Arabic language is not like that. It's that's it, khalas, right? It's a very simple vowel system, and it's uniform, it's consistent, right? It's basically this idea of what modern linguists are coming to. You should be writing exactly the way you sound, right? So the words are to be written exactly how they are pronounced, right? So a phonetic based writing system, right? Arabic has been that from day one. What modern linguists are trying to forward a case for in the Western world at the moment, which is why you would find lots of modern schools teaching its children not the correct spellings that are used in the English literature, for example. They would first nowadays, I mean, some schools are doing this. They would teach them the phonetics. So they would just be like, if you want to write, say, a word cat, right? Cat. Just use KAT, right? Because C is a C. It's not a K, right? So it confuses people. So English language or any other Latin language, it cannot compete in its precision, in its vowel system, in its script system, in its huge bank of vocabulary and its expressive powers with the Arabic language. Which is why very to put it very in a very abrupt manner, in a very straightforward manner, no language deserved to be the language of the final revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This brings us very nicely to our third point, which is this discussion of speech and versus grammar. So this is we don't need to talk very much about this. This is a discussion in the linguists that it's a unanimous agreement that speech is always first. No one decides that these are going to be the rules of the grammar of a language, and then we're going to form a language, invent our own words, and follow that. You don't really find that naturally happening. Speech is a very natural process. Human beings are natural producers of language, and this is something that differentiates us from all the rest of the animal species. And even the evolutionary biologists, they find it very difficult to explain the human speech from just pure evolutionary mechanisms, and these are problems of in the philosophy of evolution that many academics find it find problematic, and it really drives a point home that even if you were to believe in a kind of a Darwinistic mechanism for human evolution and the eventual culmination of this evolution from amoeba all the way up to Homo sapiens, for example, even if you were to believe in that kind of nonsense, that human beings evolved from apes and go against anything that Allah has to say, even if you were to believe that, you would still not be able to deny the existence of Allah. So none of this denies the existence of Allah. And Charles Darwin, he admits this, I believe, in The Origin of Species, his book, or in his recorded letters. He writes that um, that his studies are basically, I'm just paraphrasing, that his studies are not enough to prove that God doesn't exist. It's just it just to his very narrow belief, he was honest enough to admit that and none of his discoveries disprove the existence of God. So anyway, this was just a side point. But yes, speech versus grammar. So this discussion is important because when you study the books of grammar, when you say when people talk about, for example, that the doer of an action must always come after the fi'il, the verb, right? So when someone asks you, for example, why is that the case? Why, right? There's two potential answers you can give. One answer is what the grammarians gave, right? And the other is essentially that this is part of the Arabic speech, right? The Arabic speech does not allow for this kind of order of words, right? And then obviously the grammarians would answer back and say, well, what about this? And so that if you come from this perspective, the speech is first, and grammar is derived from that speech. You'd be able to answer it. Well, this is to the grammarians. Well, you see, this is just your take on it. Why are you reading into the lines? In between the lines, right? This is your interpretation, and the simplest answer that anyone can give is this is just received language. This is just how we received it, and this is how we use it, right? Simple as. And but obviously this is not to reject the effort of the grammarians, because we don't want Imam Sibawayh and other grammarians to be turning in their graves at this moment when we say that. What we mean is this opens up a very interesting door for discussion, because then when you start with this mindset that speech is natural, it comes first, and then the users of that language, they get together and formulate rules in terms of its general use of the language, and just to make sure that the language is not lost, right? To understand the structure of their language, understand their language better, to preserve their language, they come up with these grammar rules. But because we understand the speech is natural and grammar comes after, and it's a product of a human mind, when you start with this mindset, right, that then you realize that grammarians were just humans and could have made mistakes, right? So you start analyzing everything in the grammar books. So you start analyzing, you really start questioning things. And very soon, you might not find the reasons, the ilal of Nahw, right? There's entire books on this, the reasons why grammarians were, saying, okay, this is a rule for this kind of structure, and this is the reason for it. Very soon you might start thinking, I don't really think that reason is good enough, right? For the rules, right? I don't think that's satisfying. So you might think that if we put things in this way, that would make way more sense, right? Obviously, I can't give examples, but because this is too early for your understanding. But this idea of starting with this point of speech first and then grammar, it allows you to reach a level of ijtihad in the language way quicker, because you don't accept the grammarian's word as a final statement on this matter. You understand that there's room for either improvement or a different opinion. That's why you have different schools of thought in the Arabic grammar. You have the Basri school of thought, and you have the Kufi school of thought. Now, this Kufi is nothing to do with the Sunni Shia divide. It's just a school of just a take of on the Arabic grammar. And so you see, like, very soon you start enjoying yourself, and you're like, this person has said it, but I don't think he's right. I think he's wrong. For example, there's this rule in Arabic grammar where, for example, if you were to say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, when you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, you have this ba, and then you have the word ism after it, right? The rule says that every letter that makes it the next, the following ism, the noun, have this E at the end, bismillah, bismi, right? It must be related to some sort of verb. And that verb is either present or it's hidden, right? And so you must, like, this is a rule that the grammarians came up with, and if you start with this idea that speech came first, and then came the grammarians, with their magnifying glasses, delving and diving deep into the books of Arabic, poetry and stuff, and really trying to dig the rules, right? When you start with this idea, then you can see that, okay, this guy, he collected this much data and he came to this conclusion, but he might be wrong, right? So it makes grammar fun. You start enjoying these grammatical debates, right? So when you start with this idea, you might be questioning, why does this bismi, right? Why does it why must it be relevant to some sort of verb behind it, hidden or apparent? Why does it have to be, right? I could just say things, and I could just say Bismillah in the name of God, right? And Bismillah in the name of Allah, and that makes perfect sense to me, right? Why do I need to find a hidden verb somewhere, right? Even though it's not there. And so it makes language, learning grammar fun. It really trains your mind to look for the faults of the grammarians. And even though you probably might not be able to find any fault in the grammarians' rules and the formulations of grammatical structures that they've agreed on, partially because most of the grammar rules are essentially agreed upon by all the grammarians, and they're pretty unanimous in terms of their agreement. So you might not be able to find any flaws in their formulations, but needless to say that you would find and you would be able to dispute some of their reasons for their rules, and that's where it gets really fun. When you start competing with the giants of this field, and you start really thinking about, what, I got you, Sibawayh, man, you got it wrong, you see, or you could be on the side of the Kufis. You never know, right? When most of the grammarians that you study in the books of grammar, like Alfiya and all of those grammarians, are essentially Basri school of thought, right? You might find yourselves in some position with the Kufis, and your friends who are studying grammar with you, for example, they might tease you. Oh, you Kufi man. This is where it gets really fun and alive, inshallah. So more on that when we are studying the book, inshallah. So to briefly wrap up this video, I just want to talk about language learning. So language learning is a very natural process. You learn as a baby without studying any book of grammar, and you speak your native tongue, even if you can't read anything in it, even if you for example, can't write anything in it. You speak it, you understand it, right? And so how did you learn that language? Well, the scientists and leading academics like Noam Chomsky and Stephen Krashen, more and more research has been done, and they've published that you only really learn language through one way, and that's through optimal input. What that really means is you learn a language which you learn a language in a way which is best described by this phrase called optimal input. And what optimal input means is that you expose yourself to this new language that you're learning in a way that is compelling, right? So the material that you're trying to read is really interesting to you, right? And it's comprehensive. It's comprehensible to you, to at least a level where you can understand most of it, but not all of it, right? So there's a bit of a challenge there, right? So you don't quite understand everything, but it's you understand somewhat, 60%, 70% of it, just so that you have that kind of little discomfort at the end, so that it gets you to stretch your mind a bit. So comprehensible input, compelling input, a lot of this input, so abundance, right? You must be exposing yourself to a lot of this type of content, compelling, comprehensible input, content of that language. And finally, that that content that you are reading, it should be rich in a way that it should expose you to a level of vocabulary which is slightly beyond your level, right? And that's how you enrich yourself in terms of vocabulary, because then you start understanding things through contexts. Slowly learning the language without even trying to memorize anything, right? So this idea of rich input, it really feeds into this element of memorizing a language. Keeping that language in your head without trying to memorize it, for instance. So yes, and so basically, how can you combine all of that advice into one small recipe? And the advice given by the authors is straightforward. Basically, you listen and you read lots and lots and lots of kids' stories, compelling, interesting, funny stories, and you start with very basic toddler stories, and you slowly move up to your intermediate stories, and so on and so forth. So this is in a nutshell how language learning should take place. So none of this involves grammar. You can pick up grammar subconsciously when you start understanding different words, right? How they connect together and the order in which they connect together, right? Your brain can do that automatically. You don't even need any grammar books to do that, right? That's how, as I've mentioned before, that the Sahabis, for example, who were not Arabs, how were they learning Arabic? Not through Alfiya or any of the books of grammar. They were learning the language through just this, right? An optimal input, right? Living in the kind of environment, the language becomes important, so it becomes compelling to use. And they start off with hand gestures and pointing to things, probably drawing something on the sand, making it comprehensible, and obviously doing that a lot, right? Doing that a lot, and slowly you expose yourself to this rich content, and slowly but surely you get there, right? You get there, and this is a language learning method that is scientifically documented, proven to work, and this is what the students of Arabic language should be doing. So the point of studying grammar then is not to learn the language itself, is to understand the depth of the language, the kind of meanings the language can afford, right? Sometimes the meaning is not apparent. Sometimes it's the grammatical structure does not allow for that kind of meaning, and especially because we're not living with the Arabs of that time, we cannot learn the Arabic language like that. So we have to rely on the books of grammar and pre-Islamic poetry and books of Islamic early Islamic literature, for example, the Abbasid literature or the Umayyad literature, just to give an example, inshallah. So this precisely wraps up our, the first 4 points I wanted to talk about, and why we should be learning Arabic language. I hope that I've convinced you that we should be learning the Arabic language. Then we talked about why did Allah choose the Arabic language for His revelation, and I hope that I've given you some food for thought to think about this more deeply. And really increase your iman by thinking about this topic, inshallah. And this idea of speech versus grammar, how to really make grammar exciting and alive for yourself. So when you go into studying, the actual book of grammar that we're going to be studying, you understand that because of the Arabic script and how the vowels are not written, and how because the script is so precise, right? The sounds that are made are essentially not shown inside the script. So because the sounds are being made and the script does not show them most of the time, right? We need to talk about it in a way that would that would make it somewhat fun. That would make it somewhat fun to sort of visual in a way, so that we could retain what's sort of happening. So the grammarians came up with this interesting way of talking about the language, and they invented this term that, oh, you see this word when it comes before this, it sort of smacks it, and and so the next word, it changes its state, right? This word is not so exciting, for example, right? He doesn't like to party in it, so what he does is he just sits all day and does nothing. So he's just mabni, right? Steady, right? Boring. But then you have certain individuals, right? Slightly semi-exciting, some semi-vibrant, dynamic, and they like to accept some sort of influence from their companions. So they would mold themselves to your liking, but not quite, right? So that's why you have the concept of غير منصرف, right? And منع الصرف. Then there are people completely, your typical, English dudes, all out, really, party lovers, and getting in on friendly terms with everyone who comes and tries to influence them, right? Or just be friends with them. They become friends with everyone. And I mean, generally that's how I find English people, but I don't know, individual experiences may vary. But anyway, so I hope that this is a kind of it's important. This was important. To say this in the beginning of this, so that the students, when they study grammar, inshallah, they don't find it alienating to read these terms and be like, oh, why are they talking about grammar this way? Why can't they just say that this comes first, then comes this, and then comes this? Why must they come up with this crazy confusing terminologies? So I hope that to some extent, inshallah, that kind of foundation that we've laid in this lecture, we should that would sort of build and make the concepts which are to follow fun and easier to understand, inshallah. And then lastly, we talked about language learning, and so we talked about the best way of learning languages, and this is the language learning method that we employ in our Project Tajdeed course, either tutoring, a one-on-one course that we offer, or the online platform that we were building, and the same scientific principles are used to teach language, inshallah. So anyone who is interested in learning the Arabic language should not rely on Arabic grammar books to teach themselves Arabic language. They should be engaging with literature, reading Google Translate, using Google Translate, using English to Arabic dictionaries, Arabic to English dictionaries, anything they can to start understanding kids' stories. Read lots and lots and lots read hundreds of kids' stories, right? You can build up your vocabulary like that, and slowly and subconsciously you would start building the enough grammatical structure for the language in your head that when you come and study grammar later on, that would be a piece of cake, and you would already understand lots of things, and it would make things a lot easier, inshallah. And so the final point I wanted to talk about was just an overview of the science of grammar. But I think this video is already too long, so we will stop this lesson here, and inshallah continue tomorrow, inshallah, with the beginning of the book itself, the muqaddimah, and an overview of the science of grammar itself, inshallah. Since this was the first video and it was an introduction, it was necessary that certain things were clarified and talked in some detail. And but believe me, this is not the detail that these topics deserve. They deserve more discussion, and this weak slave of Allah, has not been able to do justice to these topics. And I'm sure, inshallah, when we have more time in preparation, inshallah, we can talk about these things in more detail with all the academic references and more solid evidence to prove our points, inshallah. This was just all from the top of my head, and whatever I could think of to give justifications to each of these points, inshallah. So yes, inshallah, the next videos are going to be very short. None of the videos will be as long as this one. We'll be covering 1 page a day, or just 1 page and a few lines, depending on the point of discussion. But it will be very short, bite-sized lessons, and precise, to the point. No long-winded discussions about the the texts, and the tatbiq would come after you've studied some level of some good portion of the book, inshallah. So I would leave you here until I meet you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.